And he had a guy on there that made me think a little bit because at a young age I had some forehead wrinkles and crow's feet and the little wrinkle between your two eyebrows. And I thought, and also I've worked at a health club where quite a bit of women went out of their way to erase those wrinkles and make them not happen, and even erase the reason why they happen. Mm-hmm. And so he was talking to a psychologist that works with companies to prevent psychopaths or psychopathic behavior from entering in the workplace. Mm-hmm. So he said he condensed it down to one question after it was 5 pages at first. And the guy said, okay, here's one question. I'm going to ask you this question, Beth.
Okay.
During your last traumatic period, not your last argument, not your last stupid effing tirade about your high heels not being high enough, right. Or your lipstick not being red enough.
Right. Okay,
no, I'm kidding. The last time through your tough period, what did you learn about yourself?
Well, it's honestly, it's the same lesson I learn every time, but it's that if I feel hopeful or hopeless and that I feel like I've given up and I don't have any hope, I know that for me, it's going to be that God will take care of me and that I do have faith and that my faith gets stronger and stronger every time that I get down. So that the next time that I get up, it's a lot faster, it happens easier, and then I have more faith in God. And so that's what I learned about myself. And the last time is that I get better and better at it. And honestly, it's where you ask yourself, you're like, you look at yourself in retrospect and you're like, I had no faith.
And that's the first question of the interview.
Yeah. I said,
the only one.
The only question is, but I look at myself and I go, oh, ye of little faith. I had no faith, but I do, and I get better at it. So what about you, Trey? How would you answer that question?
We were talking about this earlier a little bit, so I kind of thought through it a little bit. But a little bit of backstory. Beth and I have been through guns to our head in a CVS, and we've looked death in the face. We had no idea if we were walking out of there for like 40 minutes. They called it a heist, not even a robbery. So the first time I ever tested my faith was when I wondered what I would do in a situation like that. And I was calm as a cucumber. So one thing I learned was I had enough faith in God. I was talking to him, and I know you were too. We both had this. And I don't know if this is out of turn as far as an answer, but it is maybe helpful to refer to. And so I remember just thinking, okay. And I remember thinking about how quickly boxers get dropped and how if I get shot in the back of the head, I'm not going to go through. I've been through more pain with my back than I'll ever go through with getting shot in the back of the head.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And the fear just left. So the thing I learned about myself through my last traumatic period, which was a health issue, was that I will endure. Doesn't mean I'll survive, but I thought it through, and that even if I thought through like torture, even torture by the world or, bad guys, you're worrying about things that haven't happened and are unlikely to happen, and you have no idea about whether or not they will happen. So if you spend your day being in fear of those, then you've lost. You've lost to the bad guys. Mm-hmm. So then you get to, okay, what if they do happen? And you live long enough, and there's where wisdom does come in. There are worse things that might happen to you even after that if you survive it. And you better get over it. And then there's death. And it's like, once you don't have fear of any of those, which I had to go through all those because I was looking at a condition that might have put me in the grave in a very painful way. Not too long after you and I were in danger of. I mean, I had a pistol to the back of my head, and Beth was right there next to me, and they just were nicer to her a little bit. A little bit nicer. She was next to the Snickers. Not going anywhere for a while?
Exactly.
I was stuck next to the Funyuns on the ground.
You weren't going to get away with that very easily.
And then, so the last thing that happened to me, which was pretty major health-wise, I found out about myself that I believe in God. I believe in God enough to not despair, which I think is the best gift you can give yourself, to not be afraid of death, not be afraid of things that are unlikely to happen or at least haven't happened yet, because there's plenty of time to worry about things that are happening to you real time. And then just the regular idea of fear. And I realized that I'm on the right track anyway. So that's what I realized about myself. So what do you think?
Really good. Yeah. No, that's really good. That's really good. That's very introspective, and I think that you and I would find ourselves in the C-suite if we were being interviewed by this guy.
I think if they interviewed us in the separate rooms, because we've been through so much stuff that is similar, you've had issues where you've had to fight through some things that are hard to fight through, almost impossible. And me, this is not a woe is me type deal. We're both like the happiest people ever. So what happened was, in the interview after that, he started talking about where the forehead tells you about psychopathy, or is that the word? Psychosis or whatever. And I've always had this deal in my forehead. Early on, I started getting wrinkles, and as a young man, and I just happen to be this person that laughs hysterically. I laugh until tears come out of my eyes. Pretty much when you say every day.
Every day.
Over something I might have even said myself. I might be narcissistic in my own humor, but if I think something is funny and it's really funny, I'll laugh so hard to where I need a drink of water, and so there's the lines on the top of your forehead that have to do with being interested in other people. There's the lines between your eyebrows, which has to do with your ability to be interested in what they're saying. And there's your crow's feet, which I'll leave the link below. It's a very interesting deal.
Yeah.
The crow's feet has to do with how much you laugh. And so the reason why, if you don't know what the uncanny valley is, it has to do with like robots and their ability to make you feel just a little off because their expressions are off, and why autistic people kind of like struggle with this, and it has to do with empathy. And if you lack empathy, you will not develop those wrinkles in your face. It has nothing to do with skincare or anything like that. You might be able to kind of cover it up a little bit, but you log hours laughing, okay? Mm-hmm. And if you don't log your hours normally, then you're not going to log as many hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, so he said also this idea of making facial expressions, if you're only doing it when you're on cue, when the red light goes on, like an interview or in social settings, if you're not doing it when you're watching TV alone, that you don't develop them naturally.
Right.
And then when you do it, it's a little off. And he said what a normal person might do, or a normal person is just going to laugh at a joke on TV. And you're going to laugh. And however funny you think it is, you're going to react to it. And then the idea that I'm going into an interview, and if someone tells a joke, I need to know how to react to it. It sounds like I'm describing autism, and maybe there's a correlation. I'm not sure. But he said what a psychopath would normally, what might be normal for them would be to watch TV or watch videos and to look in the mirror and try and mimic the same expressions. If a psychopath, and all psychopaths are not evil, okay? Some psychopaths get through it, and the three things have to do with genetics. Do you have a psychopathic genetic, thing? Your experience, which should be trauma if it's going to let you let it develop into something negative, and then just your personality, just the tip ends of your genetics. Are you a cheerful person, or are you charismatic, or are you just sad by general whatever. So so if you're walking past, so let me ask you, if you're walking past a woman who looks like she's having trouble with her child breathing, on the side of the sidewalk, what goes through your mind initially?
I'm like, immediately I feel sad, and then I'm feeling like, how can I help? So I will, I'm sure like my whole body will change, and I'll bend over, like go towards them, like with my arms out, trying to help, ask, can I do anything?
Probably call 911.
Yeah, just be of service, and how I can help. But definitely, I know, like, I wouldn't be laughing, and I wouldn't be telling jokes, and I wouldn't, you know what I mean? Like, you'd be in a very serious mindset. Like,
well, if you click on the link, you'll see it, and I hate just telling exactly what you're going to click on, but it's kind of a lengthy interview, so I'm condensing it. But a psychopath is going to walk down the street, exit his door with no malintentions at all, and is going to be thinking about, I'm going to go get some tacos. And he's going to think, what do I want on my tacos? Do I want lettuce? Do I want sour cream? Is this a spicy, and they will walk by that woman where there might be other people convening around them, out of, care, and you just walk by them, and you have no pulse change, no nothing. You literally cross past them, and while you're thinking about your tacos, and you're still sitting there going, you might be 10 steps past them, going, I think I don't want lettuce today. Then you have no empathy for the pain that the person is going through. And I have a theory about this, is that the trauma part is and I'm not a licensed therapist. Do not.
no, you're not.
I'm not licensed anyway. But I think the trauma part is what separates everyone, and that when they have experienced trauma, the genetic parts combined with the trauma to make you way avoid indulging in the fear of what's going on there, because where I'm probably narcissistic as F, but not psychopathic. I don't really have a lot of.
No.
I got plenty of lines in my forehead.
Yeah, no, you definitely do. 'Cause you're not. It doesn't look like you've just Botoxed yourself to no end.
And that's the other thing. There's the uncanny valley where robots that look really human-like but don't act quite enough. That's the uncanny valley where it's a little off-putting. It's realistic, but there's something off that you can't quite put your finger on. And there are people with Botox, a place called GTAC, where there was a lot of it was a tennis club where a lot of rich women who had a lot of plastic surgery. And this is after growing up where my mom had some minor plastic surgery, and it threw me off a little bit. And there's an uncanny valley with people that use Botox. And you've been around the Moe's hose and all that. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah. No, I mean there's the forehead stays still. There's no 11 line and the furrowed brow. So if you wanted to look interesting,
What's the 11 line?
the 11 is the two lines that go straight up and down right in between your eyebrows. That looks like the number 11.
I'm looking at yours now.
Yeah,
and
like
you got
when
one.
when you furrow your brow and you act interested or you're skeptical and questioning something, that look where you squint your eyes and you just try and lean in on somebody and you just want to get more information, or just looking like you give a shit. That's the 11 lines will come up. Well, that's where they want to take that away. And so that's what Botox, Diaspora, the other things that they use for numbing your face with botulism, basically, which is Botox, to numb your face and your nerves, is to get rid of those lines. Well, if you get rid of those lines and you get rid of the lines on your forehead and you get rid of your crow's feet, which is like a dead giveaway.
And your ability to move your eyebrows around.
Ability to move your eyebrows, your ability to, or your eyebrows are permanently set and you look like you're constantly surprised or something like that, then you lose all of that nonverbal, your facial nonverbal cues and movement that allows people to understand exactly what you're thinking by looking at your face. And when you are looking at somebody and you're saying, I'm very angry with you, and it's the same face as if you said, I'm very happy with you, there's no expression change.
I wonder if that's how autistic people have to deal with things, is that they can't, they don't read the movements of faces. Like, they just see, if I look at you, I got a furrowed brow. If you just walked in a room and I didn't say anything to you, I could look at you in a certain way and you'd be like, what the is going on? I just...
Yeah.
But what if I look the same way at you, but all you saw was just kind of a robot face?
But it's a disconnect.
But saying the words I am very angry with you.
But it's a disconnect. And I think that's what autistic people do, is they'll see a face and it doesn't match up what they're hearing.
Do you think there's a connect between psychopathy or... Am I saying psychopathy?
Yeah, psychopathy.
Between psychopaths and a chain between there and autism, because everything doesn't equal evil. Everyone thinks,
right.
I may be narcissistic. When I look at all right, I'm admitting this. If I look through a picture book, I'm kind of skipping over to see if there's a picture of me in there.
Everybody does that.
And so my ex-wife, Carrie, there's a book that's about the first, middle, and third child, or the hierarchy of the children. And it starts with the first child. And it said, we're going to go through this. And then it goes to the next chapter after several pages. And it says... If you're switching to this, it says first child or youngest child. You've just flipped past all the pages to get to this page to read about yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, we're all narcissists to an extent, especially with social media. But the idea that that it's evil to have a blend of different stuff is not true. Until I think the three things, I really like the idea of the three things coming together, as far as your genetics,
right,
and your experience. Nature,
right.
Nurture. If you're distrustful or you're overly trustful, that type of stuff. So, but I think it's an interesting topic while you're looking at people. The answer is in the forehead. The answer is in the wrinkles. I'm looking at you right now, and and I see deep crevices and crow's feet and wrinkles just beyond. It looks like I'm looking at
the crypt keeper.
Yeah, I can't even believe it. Like
Stop
a mat,
it.
like you're wearing a mat.
Shut up.
No, I got so like early on. I was like, man, I'm getting wrinkles. It's because I laugh
You laugh
constantly.
You constantly laugh. That's always going to do it. And that's why they're called laugh lines. And it's a good thing. And I think people try and get rid of them and stuff, and it just freezes their face to the point where you're no longer able to emote anything non-verbally. Like, and that's the thing is, like, if you have an emotion you'd like to emote from your face, you are no longer able to do it. You're paralyzing. You're crippling your face and its
other
ability,
people's ability to read you.
Exactly. You're crippling
Which is
your
gonna go back and
ability
forth.
to emote, and you're crippling their ability to observe and interpret. And that is just awful. I can't even imagine, like, if I were artistic and I was trying to understand someone and they had that done to their face. They had that Botox and that frozen face and stuff, and just how frustrating that would be. And like, just absolutely, like, you would just go insane.
Do you remember our employee?
Yeah.
Don't say his name.
No, but he literally could not.
He couldn't figure out why I was
He
mad.
couldn't figure out why you were mad, and he was listening only to the words that you were saying. He couldn't make sense of the contextual clues.
And we're dealing with dangerous dogs.
And the context in which you were giving your nonverbal cues of, like, your face, and you're red, and you're moving your arms quickly, and you're trying to save everybody from a dangerous dog, and all this kind of stuff. And this, he couldn't interpret that. He could only hear the words, and he couldn't match them up. He couldn't match up what you were saying with what, and he had to ask you for clarification afterward. And he said, why were you mad at me then?
He called me. He said, can you ask you a question?
Yeah.
What were you thinking when you said those words to me and made those faces? Because I could tell you were mad, but I couldn't tell why you were mad,
Right.
even though you were telling me.
He couldn't connect the two, even though you didn't have Botox on your face and you have a very expressionable face. He was not able to interpret what was coming out of your mouth and matching it up with what your face was emoting.
So, and also, this guy worked for me for a while, and he was very agreeable. So, personality-wise, very charming, loved dogs, which was the only important thing. Has probably genetics, if you can connect autism to psychopathy, but also knew his mother, who was like a gentle, dog-loving person that put him there. So I can guarantee you if there was any trauma, that was the lack of trauma is probably, if you're doing a study, I don't want to say that, I don't want to disregard this guy as someone, he did a lot of good work for us and never did anything bad, nothing, but was helpful. But if you were going to look for something, I would look for the trauma. Look for someone with the same same genetics and the same things that you notice in him, but trauma.
Yeah.
Like something that happened to him really bad.
Right.
And this guy was born into a great, I mean, she's like a gem. She saves animals, and he works for her,
Right.
and he's a sweetheart. And I've got nothing but good things to say about him. But it is interesting to have that this trauma is probably, if you're doing a study, I don't want to say that, I don't want to disregard this guy as someone, he did a lot of good work for us and never did anything bad, nothing, but was helpful. But if you were going to look for something, I would look for the trauma. Look for someone with the same same genetics and the same things that you notice in him, but trauma.
Yeah.
Like something that happened to him really bad.
Right.
And this guy was born into a great. I mean, she's like a gem. She saves animals, and he works for her, and he's a sweetheart. And I've got nothing but good things to say about him. But it is interesting to have that disconnect, and also with us to find ourselves, if you don't have it genetically, I wonder if trauma can instill it.
Yeah.
And I bet you that's a worse case.
I think that'd be worse. I would imagine that'd be a worse case.
I bet that'd be a worse case than someone with both traits and no trauma. But we're not talking like we're psychologists. But it was just such an interesting thing because Beth and I both have 5 heads.
Wait, what is it?
Instead of the 4
We don't
head.
have 4 heads, we have 5 heads.
Yeah, exactly. And we both have wrinkles in our... And I noticed it, and I was always kind of embarrassed about it. And the wrinkle between my two eyebrows that I was always... I don't know. I don't have a lot of hangouts, but like I'm a little too young to have those. It's just because I'm an emotional guy, and I laugh so hard every day. So does Beth, and it's just an interesting thing to sit there and go, maybe you shouldn't feel so bad about that. But also, be on top of when you're talking to other people. If they strike you as odd, look at their lines.
Yeah.
And that's what I took away from the PD. What is it?
Patrick Bet-David,
PBD podcast. I know him. I just can never remember. He's got the weirdest initials ever.
It's a PBD podcast.
So anyway, hope you guys are good. Beth, anything else?
No, this is just real interesting. I want to watch that video again.
All right, I'll leave the link below. So y'all have a great day. God bless America. Cheers, guys.